Hi everyone, long time no see, it's Colleen, unintentional rhyming. Today I'm going to be doing my August wrap-up and September TBR. So this month was kind of a mixed bag because I had school start, and as an English major, I have to read a lot of required reading, and I thought that just reading 4 books this month would be, like, not overly ambitious, especially since, like, I have to read a certain amount of books for the newspaper just to, like, put out a column each week. Originally this month I was planning on reading Ask the Passengers by A.S. King, Chopsticks by Jessica Anthony, Extraordinary Means by Robin Schneider, and Everything Leads to You by Nina LaCour. And I got to all of those except for Everything Leads to You. So I may have only read those 3 that I planned on, but for the rest of the month, I read a lot of required reading. The final count came out to 7 books total that I read in August, and I'm so proud of myself. So the first book that I read this month was Ask the Passengers by A.S. King, and I totally understand the hype now. It's about this girl named Astrid. She lives in a very small town. She was originally from New York City with her parents and her younger sister. So Astrid's always been kind of an outsider because of that, because she comes from the big city, and she's kind of questioning her sexuality now, and in such a small town where there is zero tolerance for that, it's really tough on her, and she doesn't even know if she's gay. She can't even answer that because it's just not something that you really wake up and just know one day. It's something that you have to explore, and you're always, like, your identity is always shifting. But she doesn't really have the freedom to properly explore or even have an outlet to talk about it. She likes to lay out on her back porch, on her picnic table, and just send love up to the people up in the passing airplanes. And you're never quite sure if these are just, like, short stories that she's making up in her head, or if it's actual, like, astral projection and she's truly touching the lives of people up there, and we get those snippets of their lives. And it's just such beautiful writing. It's so funny and relatable. The isolation she feels and how, like, pressured she feels from, like, all of her family, her friends. This was such a gorgeous book filled with so much love, outstanding writing, and it's one of my new favorites. 5 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read is Chopsticks by Jessica Anthony, and artwork done by Rodrigo Coral. And this was an interesting book. I ended up giving it 3 out of 5 stars, mainly because I was never quite sure what I was reading. It's a really cool love story, but the thing is that I never quite got everything that I think I was supposed to take away from the story because, as I said in my August TBR, this is a picture book, pretty much. I mean, we get just pictures and scanned in photos of items. We get text messages and handwritten notes and playlists and photographs, and that's really cool and all, but I didn't understand what was going on like a quarter of the time. Like, I still don't understand why this is called Chopsticks. She plays the song sometimes, but I don't understand why she did. Like, why it was so important to the novel. I guess bottom line is that I thought it was a cool premise, and it was a cool, like, art style and manner to tell the story, but it wasn't as effective as it needed to be to get the whole story across. And next, for my drama class, we had, well, my drama class is just consisting of reading a lot of plays, which is so much fun, and we read 2 books by Aeschylus. They are the collection of his only 7 surviving plays. He wrote over 90 plays back in ancient Greece in, like, 400 BC, I think, and only these 7 are preserved, and that's so sad that someone's entire life work is just lost like that. And what we do have of him is pretty great, honestly. So we started out with the Oresteia, which is a trilogy following the Iliad. It's following the general Agamemnon's family, like, after he returns from war. So Agamemnon comes from a cursed family tree, and it's just this endless cycle of blood vengeance. Like, you murder someone, then someone else in the family will come and murder you, and then someone's gonna come and murder them, and then them, and then it's just this endless cycle, and it's really frustrating because it's like you can see it happening and you start to care about some of the characters. The 3 plays that make up the Oresteia trilogy are Agamemnon, the Libation Bearers, and the Eumenides. Overall, I thought this was a really enjoyable read. It's not always super easy to read ancient Greek plays with the chorus format, but just seeing the involvement of the gods, seeing the politics and the justice system that they have was super interesting. I love a good Greek tragedy, and just the drama is wonderful. And I may not have loved the second play, the Libation Bearers, but in the first play, you really start to feel for some of the characters. Like, I never condone murder, that's not my thing, I don't like murder, but you see where some of them are coming from. It didn't end well for a lot of people, that's why it's a tragedy, but anyway, overall, I give it 4 out of 5 stars. The second one by Aeschylus are his remaining 4 plays, and I don't have as much to say about them because I just didn't really care that much for them. They include Prometheus Bound, The Suppliants, The Seven Against Thieves, and The Persians. This one just didn't grab me as much. I didn't care for many of the characters, especially Prometheus Bound. I really hated Prometheus. He is just such a cocky character, and any sympathy I had for him was ruined every time he opened his mouth. And, like, it's a good read. I definitely recommend reading it if you like Greek plays, but it just wasn't my favorite in comparison to what I've seen Greek tragedies be, so I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. Next up, I read Homer's The Odyssey for my World Lit class, which is so cool because we're starting out with like this really old literature all across the world, and we'll slowly get up to modern day, and it's moving really fast paced. But we started out with the Odyssey, and this is my third time rereading it, and I just got this Barnes& and Noble Classics edition, which is beautiful. And this epic poem follows the story of the famed Greek hero Odysseus on his travels across the Mediterranean Sea following the Iliad. It spans 10 years as he fights to travel home and has to fight against sea monsters, sea witches, gods, goddesses, and some really unwanted frat boy house guests. And it's told in a nonlinear fashion. Homer tells such a great story. It's very easy to read. It's just a lot of like names and places and references to keep track of. But I've yet to find a single edition of the Odyssey that didn't come with a full glossary and or map in the back at least. And it does come in handy. But this is just one of my favorite classics of all time, and if you love a good epic story and you want a complicated main character, then go with this. 5 out of 5 stars. And next in my World Lit class, we read something that is regarded as the first great work of literature that predates even the Odyssey or the Bible, and that is the Epic of Gilgamesh. This is my textbook from class. I'm sorry I don't have like just a loose copy to show you, and it has all these stupid stickers all over it, but work with me. So Gilgamesh is another epic heroic poem, and it follows the king Gilgamesh of Mesopotamia. Gilgamesh is 2/3 god, so he's a demigod, and he is not a nice guy. He is such a tyrant to his people. He is constantly abusing them. I think it cites that he rapes a lot of the women there. The gods eventually create this wild man in the jungle named Enkidu. They make him be Gilgamesh's best friend, someone who can be his equal and like fight him and keep him in line, and they just become the best of friends, like blood brothers. And Enkidu makes Gilgamesh kind of check his privilege and shape himself up. Like, this is such a comeback story, and that's just in the first like bit of the story. So after that, it just follows Gilgamesh and Enkidu's adventures as they have to face off against monsters and gods and ask questions about morality and face their own mortality. It tells such a great story, but isn't as dense a read as, say, the Iliad or the Odyssey, but it has such a dynamic main character who goes through such a change and shows genuine remorse for who he used to be, that it's such an interesting read, and I don't really see anyone who likes classics not enjoying this if you just put in the time and like get used to the style. But it's really fun, and I still think I prefer the Odyssey over it, so I give this one 4 out of 5 stars, but I like this main character better than Odysseus. And finally, I finished this one just yesterday actually, right on time, and it was Extraordinary Means by Robin Schneider. It's kind of a what if we had this new super tuberculosis, and what if all the old vaccines didn't have any kind of effect on it anymore. So the story centers around a teenage boy named Lane, and it's dual perspective actually between Lane and Sadie. They both know each other from summer camp years ago. There's a little bit of a misunderstanding in their history. They both remember an event very, very differently, so it causes a lot of initial dislike and confusion and just some really uncomfortable drama because you can see it. But without giving too much away, they both have TB, they both go to this sanitarium called Latham House, and it's sort of like a boarding school meets hospital. While Lane is here and he's the new kid and he's very stuck on like being in all of his AP classes and graduating second in his class, and he wants to be on early admissions for Stanford and following all the rules and never taking chances. And then Sadie is like, she's here and she has been here for about a year or so, and she hates the rules. She hates being so confined and restricted. And so her way of staying, like keeping her fighting spirit alive, is to kind of rebel in small ways against the school. So when the two of them meet again, just a lot of hilarity ensues. I've heard this book compared to The Fault in Our Stars quite a few times, but I don't really think that's fair. John Gray did not corner the market on two teens having a disease and forming a friendship. This is an entirely separate story. It has almost nothing else in common with The Fault in Our Stars, but it is such a beautiful book and is on par with it in terms of quality. That's not to say that every single thing in here is something that I haven't seen before. Like, there are some just like common YA tropes in this, and at times it is a little predictable, but at the same time, you really love the characters, you really feel for them. There's a lot of really funny modern references like to Tumblr, and just the way the kids speak actually feels very organic and real. and I really enjoyed this book. I ended up giving it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. So these are the 7 books this month that I read, and now on for my September TBR. So I plan to read a total of 5 books in September. The first is Nimona, a graphic novel by Noelle Stevenson, who did the cover art for Fangirl. It's about a girl named Nimona. She is a shapeshifter, and she has come to be the henchman of this Dark Lord, who is out to get the kind of white knight of this kingdom. I'm really trying to go into this one blind. I'm going to try to get to this one first and see if I can finish it in one sitting. For my drama class, surprise, more Greek plays. I get to read the 3 Theban plays by Sophocles, and these are Antigone, Oedipus the King, and Oedipus at Colonus. This trilogy follows yet another main character's really messed up family tree, and this is the trilogy that inspired the term Oedipus complex, so you already know, like, a third of the entire meat of the story. I want to get to Everything Leads to You by Nina LaCour because I promised to do that last month and it just did not happen. But since I already told you the synopsis like probably 4 or 5 times now on my channel, I won't bore you with it. But this has been on my TBR for such a long time, and I'm gonna finish this September, guys. I'm gonna do it, or so help me. I'm gonna be really upset with myself. That's about all I can commit to, but I'm gonna finish it. It's gonna happen. Last 2 might be slightly ambitious, but I really want to read More Than This by Patrick Ness, which, again, I've told you the synopsis a lot on this channel, and who doesn't know about Patrick Ness? And this is a huge book, but I really want to get through this finally because I love Patrick Ness. I love his writing style. And it's just about time that I got through some of my more intimidating books on my shelf. And finally, I want to read The Drowning of Arthur Braxton by Caroline Smales. I know next to nothing about this book, but all that I do know is that 2 of my favorite YouTubers, It's Way Past My Bedtime, Carrie Hope Fletcher, and Luke Is Not Sexy, Luke Cutforth, say that this book is just amazing, and Luke actually just had a Kickstarter which was successful as of about 2 days ago. It's gonna be a movie now and he's gonna direct it, and he has a huge budget for it, and it was just such a wild success, and I was one of the backers. And these are the 5 books that I plan on reading in the month of September, not including what I'm not sure is going to be assigned yet for my drama class and world lit classes, but let's just hope that these all happen. But I've officially passed my 30 book mark this year for my reading challenge, and just a couple more to go, and I think I might actually finish the Pop Sugar reading challenge by October or November. So fingers crossed, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!